All right, thank you guys. We are coming fresh off a perfect 5-0 day yesterday on BrockPage.com. And $1,000 bettors made over $4,500 just on Sunday alone with my premium sports picks. We also improved to 5-0 with a push in our last 6 college basketball tier package picks on that very same webpage. And the link for that package is in the description section below. And as always, guys, all the plays that I give out on BrockPage.com, they're my personal bets, games that I personally have action on. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to start with the Heat taking on the Wizards, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Monday, February 7th, 2022. Miami is -6 with the total at 208. And despite the absence of Bradley Beal here for the Wizards, well, Miami's dealing with a good amount of injuries themselves. Their 2 leading scorers, Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, they're both listed as questionable with lower body injuries. Meanwhile, Strus and Martin, they're also listed as questionable as well. Opala is out. And I'll tell you this much, even when they're mostly healthy, Miami tends to throttle down offensively late in games. They're actually in the bottom 10 in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring on the road. Now, when it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two organizations, Miami failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10 gatherings with Washington. And I'll tell you what, as bad as the Wizards have been playing here recently, believe it or not, they're still winning 50% of their home games this year. And for some reason, I don't know why, the Wizards actually tend to tighten up defensively late in games. Washington's currently in the top 5 in the NBA in fewest fourth quarter points allowed at home. And of course, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Kyle Kuzma is dropping 16 points a game, along with 8 boards and a couple assists. Meanwhile, the big guy, Montrezl Harrell, he's scoring 14 points a game himself, along with 6 boards and 2 assists as well. And speaking of offensive production, well, the Wizards are actually in the top 10 in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. So we're seeing a lot of favorable matchups here with regard to the trends in the stats for Wizards backers. Now, total-wise, Washington saw their last 4 straight all fall under the posted number. The Wizards are also 7-2 to the under in their last 9. Meanwhile, Miami saw unders recently with Charlotte, San Antonio, and Portland. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Wizards +6 and the under 208. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Raptors versus the Hornets. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Charlotte. Now, it's actually Toronto who is -2 on the road here. Total's 224.5. Now, Toronto did win their last 5 straight with victories over the likes of Atlanta, Chicago, and Miami during that stretch. Now, the Raptors have also been pretty good on the defensive end of the court this season as well. They're actually limiting their competition to just 106 points a game. Now, scoring-wise, Freddie VanVleet, he's averaging over 21.5 points a game, along with 4 boards and 7 assists. Now, Freddie's also making nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Pascal Siakam, he's scoring 21 points a game himself, along with 8 rebounds and 5 assists. And once again, when it comes to the defensive play of Toronto, well, the Raptors are actually leading the entire NBA in fewest third quarter points allowed on the road. Now, they're taking on a struggling Charlotte team here who actually lost their last 4 straight, and they failed to cover the number in 6 out of their last 8 ball games. So not only are these guys disappointing their fans, well, they're not cashing in on a lot of tickets here over the past handful of weeks. And I'll tell you this much, although Charlotte's been very good offensively this year, they've been pretty bad on the other end of the court. The Hornets are in the bottom 3 in defensive rebounding, and they're allowing nearly 115 points a game. Now, injury-wise, McDaniels is out for Charlotte. Dragic is still out indefinitely for Toronto. When it comes to the total in this one, Toronto saw their last 3 straight get over the posted number. They also went 6-2 to the over in their last 8. Meanwhile, Charlotte, on the other side of things, they saw overs recently with Indiana, the Lakers, and this very Toronto team. I'm going to lean toward the Raptors -2 and the over 224.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Suns versus the Bulls, 8 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Phoenix is -8 with a total at 227.5. Now, the Suns are winning 80% of their road games this season, and they also went 16-9 against the spread in those very contests. Devin Booker is scoring over 25 points a game, along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton, he's scoring over 16 points a game himself, along with 10.5 boards. Now, the Suns are currently in the top 3 in the NBA in scoring on average per contest. Meanwhile, defensively on the other end of the court, they're actually limiting their competition to just 32% shooting from 3 land on the road. Now, they're taking on a Bulls team on the other side who lost 2 out of their last 3 themselves. And they're also in the second of a back-to-back here this evening. So a couple factors there just right off the gate. Kind of going against Chicago. Now, the Bulls also might have to go to work here tonight without Zach LaVine and Kobe White. Both are battling injuries right now. But I'll tell you this much, even when they're mostly healthy, the Bulls have had their issues on the defensive end of the court. Chicago's in the bottom 10 in defensive field goal percentage. And they're also amongst the worst in the East in guarding the 3-ball at home. Now, injury-wise, once again, LaVine and White are questionable. Ball, Caruso, and Jones, they are still out indefinitely. When it comes to the total in this one, Chicago saw their last 6 straight all get over the line. They're also 16-10 to the over at the United Center. Meanwhile, Phoenix, on the other side of things, they saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Phoenix Suns -8 in the over 227.5. Next contest, it is going to be Warriors versus the Thunder, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Golden State's -12.5 away from home, totals 211. Now, the Red Hot Warriors won their last 8 straight. And they're currently leading the entire NBA in guarding the 3-ball. And in addition to that, the Warriors also find themselves amongst the league leaders in defensive field goal percentage as well. Now, scoring-wise, when it comes to offensive production, Steph Curry's averaging over 25.5 points a game, along with 5 boards and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins, he's drilling 42% of his 3-pointers. He's also averaging 18 points a game. And speaking of 3-pointers, the Warriors are in the top 5 in the NBA in shooting the 3-ball. They're also amongst the best in the Western Conference in offensive boards per game. Now, they're taking on a Thunder team who is really not good offensively. They're really struggling this season with the ball in their hands. They're scoring just 101 points a night, and they're actually going to work without their leading scorer, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They've been going to work without him, so that is not going to help their offensive woes. And I'll tell you what, equally as bad, OKC's making only 31% of their 3-pointers as a team. They currently rank dead last in shooting from the field. These guys are arguably the worst shooting team in basketball. Now, injury-wise, Roby, Wiggins, Krejci, Robinson Earl, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they're all out for OKC. Lou Dort is also listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for Golden State on the other side of things, Iguodala and Porter are questionable for them. Green and Jellicoe are still out indefinitely. Now, total-wise, Golden State saw unders recently with Houston, Brooklyn, and Utah. They're also 14-10 to the under in their road games. Meanwhile, OKC saw 7 out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings with the Warriors fall under the line as well. I'm going to lean toward Golden State -12.5 and the under 211. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Knicks versus the Jazz. 9 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Utah is -7.5 with the total at 219. Now, the Jazz are back in the win column after a rough handful of weeks. The Jazz won their last 2 straight, and they're also 17-10 straight up at home. Donovan Mitchell scoring 25.5 points per contest, along with 3 boards and 5 assists. Meanwhile, Bojan Bogdanovic, he's scoring over 17.5 points a game himself, along with 4 rebounds. And despite the recent struggles, Utah still scores more points per contest at home than any other team in the NBA. And no real surprise here, they're actually in the top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. Now they're taking on a Knicks team who does not score a whole lot of points offensively. The Knicks are averaging only 103 points a game on the road. And they actually lost 8 out of their last 10 ball games. So these guys really struggling over, the past handful of weeks. Now when it comes to shooting the basketball, New York's actually in the bottom 5 in offensive field goal percentage. Meanwhile, total-wise, New York saw unders recently with Sacramento, Cleveland, and New Orleans. Meanwhile, Utah on the other side of things here, they went 70% to the under in their last 10 themselves. Now, real quick, when it comes to the injury report here, Rudy Gobert, he's still out indefinitely with a calf. Jordan Clarkson and Rudy Gay, they're both listed as questionable for tonight's action as well. But regardless of all that, I'm going to still end up leaning toward Utah minus 7.5 and the under 219. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are currently 5-0 with a push in our last 6 college basketball tier package picks. I like Washington plus 6, under 208. Give me Toronto minus 2, over 240. Toronto minus 2, over 224.5. Give me Phoenix minus 8, over 227 and a hook. Golden State minus 12.5, under 211. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Utah minus 7.5 and the under 219. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, you're actually going to get access to that content all the way through the end of February. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single pick that I give out on that website, you're going to want to sign up for my board member tier, where not only do board members get access to the board member tier pick itself, board members get access to every single package that I offer on that website. It's an all-inclusive membership. So it's your best value, in my opinion. But anyway, most importantly, guys, gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.